In the summer of 2019, I started to see posts of the World Transformation Movement on Facebook. I must admit they caught my eye, particularly because of the keyword transformation. Because obviously, like I've just mentioned, I'm a life transformational coach. So transformation caught my eyes. So I took the initiative to delve into Jeremy's content through reading, listening, and watching videos. As Jeremy spoke, my spirit began to take it all in, and his message began to resonate with me. So at this point, about 7 months into all this information, I took a break and stopped listening to or reading or even watching anything to do with the World Transformational Movement. So my biggest reason being that it all sounded too good to be true, because I was in shock that I had in fact found the truth about human behavior that I had been looking for to make sense of all the horrific pain and trauma that I write about in the Iron Eagle Man book. So the 2 months gap that I took without accessing Jeremy's content sent me into a trance of anxiety, because by now I knew something special already. The longer I stayed away, the greater my curiosity grew. And because in my nature I thrive on challenges, I re-embarked on the content. So I indulged myself into the book Freedom, which I've got right here with me. It's always by my side, that one there. In my opinion, it is astounding that a person, and not just any person, but a scientist in particular, could dedicate 40 years, not only of his career, but his life, into understanding and explaining the abject human condition, as Jeremy calls it. Because science has never given me a good explanation of anything to help me understand, to help me relate with my faith, my Christian faith, or my theology as I had studied it. But turns out that is where Jeremy's content resonated with me, through my faith of what I believe and of what I had studied, the 5 years of theology that I had studied. So for me, that to me sounds like a calling, and I personally do tremendously appreciate and credit Jeremy Griffith for this huge life transformational assignment. After having immersed myself in his work, I can safely deduce that Jeremy's book, Freedom, is by far the only book so far that has been written that provides the most accurate and profound explanation of the human condition. What stands out for me in this book is the liberating truth that it gives us, this concept that suggests that we humans have savage animal instincts within us is in fact based upon false biological excuses. Because that's a very common belief, and people use it, as an excuse that after all, we're all like animals, but that's not true. Because we human beings, we're loving and we're caring, and we don't really have this animalistic instinct. So Jeremy proved that to me in this book. And that for me was a huge relief to know that, you see. So Jeremy's explanation of how we humans developed a fully conscious mind some 2 million years ago, as he explains in Freedom, is very relieving for humanity, because it brings to our awareness that humans possess both instinctive and intellectual behavioral patterns in our makeup. So this understanding explains why we sometimes find it difficult to make right decisions. So I admire how Jeremy profoundly explains our angry, alienated, and egocentric nature as the result of the battle between human instinct and intellect, hence our abject human condition, as he writes it in the book. So Jeremy's work has brought us to the priceless truth and understanding that this tragic conflict is indeed the cause of all our misery. So for me, All of my traumatic experiences are fully written in this book, you see. Now, Jeremy's scientific explanation started to give me the reasons of why I wrote the Iron Eagle Man book. I knew that I had written the book and I felt accomplished. Nevertheless, I wasn't as accomplished until I got the explanation of the human condition from the book Freedom. So for me, that was a huge, huge learning, was a huge learning for me. So Jeremy's work has brought us to that priceless truth. And I'll quote Jeremy here. He says, our ideas cannot be consistent with our instincts, unquote. Because we have a brain, animals don't. So that's what makes the difference. So what Jeremy's work has done for me, and I believe for all of humanity, is enabled us to understand through a biological explanation that we are in fact a genius species, to be the only species to possess both instinct and conscious mind, and to be able to make decisions based upon these two conflicting forces. Now, which affirms a line in Freedom: humans are the heroes of the story of life on earth, unquote. So yeah, so living a life with that brand awareness enables human beings to manage even through difficult times, and that's where we derive our freedom. So for me, the revelation of this understanding the human condition was like my aha moment, or call it my epiphanic moment. It felt like a dark veil had been lifted off my face, and now I could see the truth. And it was very liberating to know that everything I have done through my personal lived experiences was done in search for knowledge. And along this search in the whole while, we as humans were good and not bad. We're just looking for knowledge. That is very liberating, I think, you know. Now, what it does for other human beings, because much as I like to speak to for myself, but because I want to take this message across to other people, I'm thinking that to be able to discover the truth that all humans have inevitably been on the journey of trying to understand themselves through their personal life experiences, and that although they have made and still are making mistakes, it doesn't make them bad, but instead it makes them heroes of the story of their lives. In fact, this is the most liberating biological truth through all of human history, in my own opinion. That's how I see it. So this liberating truth changed the trajectory of my life completely. Jeremy uses the analogy of the story of Adam and Eve. That's where I begin to relate Jeremy's work with my theology and spirituality, when he mentions the story of Adam and Eve in the garden and gives a scientific explanation of their conduct of eating the apple, referring to them as the heroes of the story of life on earth. Jeremy goes on to say that because surely the conscious mind is nature's greatest invention, and he refers to this search of understanding as a task. How this ties in with my spirituality: my faith, based upon the Bible, the theology that I studied, teaches me that Jesus came to die for man's sins because man did not put himself in this sinful position. So he mustn't be the one to pay the sacrifice. Hence, Jesus' death on the cross by crucifixion. So God pays it for man through his greatest love for humanity. For me, this justifies Jeremy's scientific explanation, because Jeremy says that this was a way for man to discover himself, right? Now, the Bible says that God sends his son to die for us. I mean, if we were indeed in the wrong, we would have had to pay that price. But because we're not in the wrong, and God is not even blaming us, he loves us so much. So what he does, he sends his son to pay the price for us. That's one of the examples. So what theology refers to as the sinful nature of man or the fall of man in the Garden of Eden, Jeremy scientifically explains it as a heroic state through humanity's epic search for self-knowledge to understand the human condition, hence making man the hero of the story of life. So instead of being blamed, Jeremy says this guy is indeed a hero in this act. And like I've mentioned, that he even deserves a sacrifice for it from God. That's how that my theology and spirituality ties in with, with the scientific explanation of Jeremy, you see. So through Jeremy's scientific explanation of the human condition, we understand that equality and goodness in humans is a fundamental truth, and that everyone is equally worthy and with none inferior or superior to the other. So this concept right here is Bible truth, because even the Bible says that no one is inferior or superior to the other. We are all the same, you see. So the above two examples are sufficient proof for me, of how Jeremy's work reconciles science with spirituality. So this scientific explanation of Jeremy seals the deal for me. It affirms my claim of reconciliation of science and spirituality. In my opinion, I strongly believe that everyone needs an understanding of the scientific explanation of the human condition, regardless their race, spiritual or political affiliation, sex orientation, belief system, or whatever barrier or boundary they may be. So this explanation and understanding cuts through all of these barriers, because what we all have in common is humanity, as we all know, you see, and that's what makes Jeremy's work so powerful. Yeah, I believe that with this awareness, humankind will embark on a whole new journey of a well-deserved quality of life, one without guilt and self-recrimination. So as Jeremy says, people will now know that they didn't deserve all that criticism, unquote. He says, quote again, "We had to be prepared to march into hell for a heavenly cause," unquote. So by so saying, he enlightens us that it had to get worse before it could get better. So I use the analogy of a pregnant woman in labor. I have children, so I know what it means to be in labor and to be in pain and to be waiting for your baby to come. And then finally, the baby comes and you're like, it was worth the pain after all. So this is exactly what Jeremy is trying to say. So I would like to open a WTM center in West Midlands, United Kingdom, mainly because it's of my utmost importance and desire for me to take this transformational information far and wide so as to free humanity. I believe it frees humanity. That's my belief for now. So I believe that Jeremy's work will impart more knowledge to what we already know. So what fascinates me the most about his work is that it doesn't remove or disrupt one from whatever it is they believe, but rather it presents one with a clear scientific explanation and understanding of the abject human condition. That was my worry in the beginning when I first came across this content. I was worried that perhaps this is another one of those movements that are, like a religion or a sect or whatever it is. But this is not what Jeremy's work is all about. Jeremy's work is the unique understanding of the abject human condition, you see. So this unique quality of Jeremy's work is one of the strong reasons as to why I would like to establish a WTM center in West Midlands, UK. So it's so much easier to impart knowledge upon people without them having the feeling that one is trying to convert them into a particular belief system. Hence why it is very important to get the book Freedom and understand it for oneself. like I mentioned earlier, I had a veil on my face before I got this information. But when I got this information, it was so liberating. And I strongly believe that if other people will hear this from other testimonials, they will jump on board because every one of them wants this liberty. So I strongly believe that it's going to liberate humanity. It's going to liberate humankind. That is a major reason for me to take this information far and wide.